just like to welcome everybody. It's Mike and Karen from Glad Tidings Pentecostal Church in Perth, continuing with our interviews, testimonials from people about salvation, healing, just different things God's been doing in their lives. We just use them to encourage the body, and it's really had a good response so far. So we're just really happy to be here again and just continuing with this.
Yes. Hi, Randy.
Hello.
Nice to see you here tonight. Randy, we're going to be talking tonight. We're going to give a testimony about something that happened in your life. It's not a big thing. It's not a healing. It's not a testimony of salvation. What it is a very significant testimony of the detail that God has in our life and how much He cares for us, and that nothing is too small to ask Him for. So with that, I'm going to give you the way to go, and way you go, Randy.
Okay, thank you, Karen and Mike. As Karen said, like there's no detail too small that our God is not interested in about our lives, and the providence over our lives that is so. God's providence over our lives is so complete that even the most mundane things are all set in His order as He sees fit. And this is a feel-good story. It's like Karen said, it's not about salvation or anything like that. But I'll just get right into it. A couple of weeks back, maybe 3 weeks ago now. No, I don't even think that long, but nonetheless, on a Friday afternoon at work, after the day's work was over, and we all said our goodbyes, and everyone got in their vehicles and drove away, and I walked over to my car, and I reached in my pocket for my keys to unlock my car, and I had lost my keys. I had no keys. So that in itself, it was just very unusual. I've never in my life lost my keys, and my natural worldly response would have been to get very angry and frustrated. And actually, I did get very frustrated. I looked all around. I was alone. I had no one there to help me, and it was like I just wanted to be able to blame someone or something. I felt so lost, and anyway, I don't know the word for that, but anyway, I looked all around where I worked that day and everywhere, and I exhausted the search looking for my keys, and I could not find them. And here my car was locked. I couldn't even get inside of it. So I called a friend, and he came and he picked me up. And he drove me to my home. It was a Friday, the end of the work week. So he drove me home, where I met my wife at the door. I had called her on my phone and told her the story. And she met me at the door with our spare keys. And then my friend drove me back into town, and I got in my car and I came home. So there I was, faced with a dilemma of, do I let this frustrate me to the point where I now will have a terrible weekend? I will be angry at my wife. All because I'm angry at myself for losing my keys, of course. And I didn't want to do that, because I knew that, like in my relationship with God, He's been trying to show me the nature of my character for years, and I've been trying to improve myself, and with every step forward there's 2 steps back sometimes. Pardon me, but nonetheless, I didn't allow myself to get frustrated and angry, and but like I said, now I'm at home, and my darling wife says to me, the keys are not lost. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, the keys are not lost. God knows where your keys are. You just don't know where your keys are. And I said, well, thank you, sweetheart. That was that was oh so helpful. I'm being I'm being sarcastic, but loving my wife dearly, I said, what do you mean by that? Like, and she said, well, she had been through something similar to this before in the past. And she said, ask God to show you where your keys are at. And I said, well, okay, honey, I'll do that. And really, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh boy, really ask God where are my keys?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I went to bed that evening, and I laid in bed and I say some prayers as per normal. And that night I said, God, show me what it is about why I've lost these keys, or at least show me where are my keys. What is this about? Is there something here I need to know? And when I woke the next morning, I had just a compelling sense of the word, just a word, paint, P-A-I-N-T, paint. I woke up thinking paint. I could hear paint being spoken into my ears. I just was thinking paint, and I'm going, what does this mean? So, and I didn't even really know if that was something that God had told me, or if really I was just having a stroke or something. But I assumed that I assumed that God had given me that word. And I learned a while back when I studied in the Abide program that God gives people a word like this. So I thought about that, paint, and what could it mean? So for that whole day, and then the following day as well, I've just processed in my mind, what could this possibly mean? Paint. I wasn't painting on Friday at work when I lost my keys. Paint has nothing to do with the work that I normally do. It didn't make any sense to me. So I thought perhaps it means that am I painting over something about my character that needs to be exposed? I didn't know. I tried to understand in a million different ways what could God be trying to tell me by giving me this word, paint. And all the while, of course, my keys are still lost. And I'm feeling quite at peace about it, though, whereas normally I think I would have been quite frustrated. As it turned out, the following, I also thought all the while in the back of my mind, when I go back to work on Monday, I'm going to search, and I have to find these keys. Well, of course, as Monday came along, the boss said, you're going to go to this job and you're going to go to this job. And I wasn't going to be sent back to the same location that I worked at on Friday. And I thought, oh dear, I really wanted to go there so I could look around again for my keys. But I went to a different job and I worked all day, and I left it out of my mind, but I could not forget the word paint. What is he trying to tell me about the word paint? When the end of the day came along that Monday, the fellow that I was working with that day was driving both of us, and he said, I'll drop you off at the shop, but first I have to go to this other job site, the one where I lost my keys at. And he had some business there, and it had nothing to do with me. I was just riding along in his truck with him. So he drove to the site where I was working the day I lost my keys. And he went and he was talking to someone, and I was sitting in his truck, and I looked over at a huge industrial garbage bin. It's 40 feet long. It's been on the site. We've been throwing our garbage in it, but I had not been, to my knowledge, anywhere near that bin. But something again compelled me to walk over, and I stood up on the edge of it, and I looked over and peered into that bin, and inside, the first thing that I saw was a paintbrush, a used paintbrush, laying in there with all the rubble. Well, right away, I'm thinking paint all day. For 3 days, I've just been thinking paint. So that seemed right away significant to me. So I climbed up over the top of the bin, and I jumped in, And of course, when I landed on all the refuse, the paintbrush, it disappeared down into the abyss of all of this garbage. And so I scrambled and I jammed my hand down deep inside and I pulled up the paintbrush and my keys were hanging on that paintbrush.
Amen.
Car keys that I lost 3 days before. I still don't know how they got there. But all I know for sure is that I think in a small way that by obedience, perhaps, but certainly by belief, God showed me where those keys were. I could have, I could have just let my frustration get the best of me and thought, oh, my wife was being silly when she suggested I ask God where my keys are. I could have dismissed that, and but I believed. I believe in my God, so I have such a relationship with God that He's done so much for me that really I like to think of us that we're almost like one. I'm not comparing myself to God. I don't mean it that way, but
I know what you mean. We know.
I didn't allow myself to get frustrated and angry. I put my faith in God and I asked Him,
Amen.
show me where my keys are. And He showed me where my keys are.
Wow.
And we've been listening to sermons from our pastor, Karen and Mike. You know this, that just last week, no request is too small. He
Amen.
cares about the most minute or mundane parts of our lives because He wants to bless us. He wants to answer our prayers.
Yes.
There are minimal requirements on our part. We need to love Him with all our hearts and minds and souls and believe in Him. And we need to try to advance ourselves into the likeness of Jesus and such as that. But the smallest little thing, where are my car keys? The God of this universe spoke to me and showed me where my car keys were.
Yeah.
And
Powerful.
why? Only because He told us that He promises us that He will do those things for us if we only just ask Him in faith.
Amen.
And I guess that's it. It's a feel-good story. It's not earth shaking or anything like that, but I think it's a tremendous story, and I hope that it encourages other people to just to believe even a little bit more than they already do, that this relationship we have with the God of the universe is a personal one.
Yes.
So personal that it's like it's a symbiotic thing between we and God. And anyway, I just all the glory to Him for that.
Absolutely,
Amen.
Randy. Randy, you
Amen.
know what? That is exactly the story it is. It's a feel-good story, and it made me feel really good. And just I don't know, just the care that God took in your life. How sweet, how kind, how good.
And also, if I can add one more thing, that was I also then had an opportunity in front of the people, the men and women that I work with, who are not believers, to display to them the power of the God that I believe in.
Yeah.
I told them the exact story as I just laid it out for you, that I had no idea where those keys were. And, and my wife told me to ask God where those keys were, and I did, and He showed me. And so I got to share that with a bunch of people, and we were all standing around
Really?
with our jaws agape in disbelief. But it shouldn't be disbelief. It should be absolute belief.
Yes.
Because that's what He's promised us all along, to have that He cares about us that much.
He does. Well, that's the truth, Randy. All of our Christian life, we said the same thing. We lose something, we can't find it. We want a small thing, whatever it is. we ask the Lord to help us, and He always, always answers, always does. We are so excited for everyone to hear your story,
Yeah.
and we do hope, Randy, that it encourages people, makes them smile, and they feel really good once they hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say, Randy, I got to tell you, you're a great storyteller.
Yes.
I was just
yeah, we were feeling really good.
I was just so encouraged, and I was just hanging on to it. Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
we
thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Randy.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Thanks for joining us
Okay.
tonight, Randy.